child from Oklahoma to pay a $200 ticket. Had someone fly from Pennsylvania to Atlanta for a $300 ticket. I had a student in Alabama in college who got a bus over here for a $300 ticket. And so I was able to partner with this company called Court Call. And so for a fee that the defendant would pay, instead of paying for a $300 airline ticket or bus ticket, they would pay the $65 to come before the court. That company would take care of all of the apparatus that you see here. They would make the contact, they would set up the tech, and then the person would show up, and I'm sitting at the bench, call the case, have the prosecutor announce the case and advise the court the posture of the case and the negotiations. And then the court would adjudicate the case and set the fine and allow them to pay electronically, and then the case would be over. So we were doing that when COVID hit. And then, so it was an easy shift for us. Some of us stayed on Court Call for a bit and just amped up the cases that normally would come onto a regular calendar, shifted those over to our virtual calendar. And then because the county had purchased a Zoom account for everyone, some of the judges went with Zoom. So we experimented to see which was going to be the most expedient model for us. And we found that even with the company that we were utilizing, we negotiated a lower rate so that would not be a burden on the county, because under the judicial emergency order that took effect in March 2020, you could not charge the public for utilizing the electronic platform. So the county was going to be absorbing that. But once we experimented with it for several months, we found that we had more versatility, more control with the Zoom platform, and we were just more efficient. So all of us are utilizing the Zoom platform. It is working very well. The attorneys that come on, just like any given day, when I come on the bench, there are 4 or 5 attorneys already in the courtroom speaking with the prosecutors about various cases. Now they will pop on from the comfort of their offices or their homes or in their cars and announce their case. And then I have the court moderator place them into a conference room to speak with the prosecutor. And then that's what they do. It's working very well. It got off to a little slower start because, quite honestly, most of our judicial partners were kind of in denial about how long the pandemic was going to last. I, on the other hand, was a little more skeptical and did not think that we were going to be able to get back in person as soon as others hoped we would. So our planning was a little more long-term, and with the leadership of our judicial task force led by our illustrious Chief Judge Asha Jackson, we would meet weekly to talk about PPE and best practices and spacing and all of that kind of stuff, just so that we could keep all of our judicial partners informed. And our colleague Judge Bedelia Hargrave, to her credit, and we just had to keep her in prayer, because right when the pandemic hit, there was just this great rush for everybody wanting to have a firearm. And of course, folks, demanding that their constitutional rights be adhered to. She and her team had to be at the courthouse to take care of those essential functions when most of us were able to remain virtual. I am speaking to you from my virtual courtroom in my basement. And I have been in this posture since March 2020. I went to my courtroom, I grabbed my flags and my seal off the wall, and I stuck them on the wall behind the desk in my office in my basement. I'm speaking to you on the county laptop. We have an apparatus that is attached to it that actually streams into my courtroom. Under the judicial emergency order, no courts may be closed. And so we have the options as judges either to broadcast over YouTube or to stream live into our courtrooms. Initially, we were having some difficulty with some people bombing on YouTube and acting out. And so we were able to set it up so that I can click one button. We have staff members who are on site. They come on to make certain our apparatus is turned on, the screen goes down, and what you see me doing now is broadcast on a giant screen inside of my courtroom. And what I say to everyone every morning, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, this is a virtual hearing. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm not physically present inside of my courtroom. However, my courtroom located at 3630 Camp Circle in Decatur, Georgia, is unlocked, and any individual who wishes to observe this proceeding is welcome to enter the courtroom with a mask on, be seated, and observe the proceeding on the screen inside of my courtroom. And those are the requirements under the judicial emergency order. And that's the posture that we have been in. And also, as a result of our wonderful IT team and some broad thinking, we also developed another platform over the summer to assist our citizens, and it's called Online Case Resolution. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with the old concept of ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution. When I first finished law school, I became a certified mediator and actually mediated for 18 years with the Justice Center of Atlanta. If anyone is familiar with that agency, had the opportunity to mediate with United States Air Force, United States Postal Service, United States Navy, United States Department of Education. And so that, when the concept was brought to me about trying to develop some platform to assist individuals without them having to come to court, I was immediately open to that. So we spent several months over the summer with a software company developing what we call OCR, our online case resolution system. So at this point, you can simply go to the court's website and click on the OCR link. That will take you to a portal where, if you are a defendant, you can simply enter your citation number, or you can enter your driver's license number. Then that will pull up your profile. It will pull up a PDF of your court case or citation. And then you can simply say, well, I was speeding because I was rushing my wife to the hospital because she was about to deliver, our child. And here's the parking ticket, from the hospital. And here's a picture of my baby boy. Well, then once you input that information in, it goes to a prosecutor with the Office of the Solicitor General, who is charged with prosecuting misdemeanors in DeKalb County. That prosecutor will review the request, will review the driver's history, and make a determination whether or not they want to offer a reduced fine based on that circumstance. Once they upload their recommendations, they will then assist the defendant in filling out what's called a plea in absentia form. And that's a form that we also developed and tweaked over the summer. Historically, lawyers who represent someone, say in Pennsylvania or Washington, D.C., who comes through DeKalb and has an infraction, they'll say, I'm not going to spend $400 to come back. Lawyer, I'm going to hire you for a cut rate of $250 if you will go in and represent me. That lawyer will come in and present the plea document, but typically it's notarized, all right? And the lawyer presents it. Well, we developed with the chief judge that because we could not have the person come in person, that a copy of the driver's license would suffice in lieu of the notary. And so now that person uploads the driver's license or state ID so that the court can identify the individual. And then the court reviews the citation, reviews the plea in absentia document, which basically is your plea document. You've heard of that referred to generally. It has all the elements. It incorporates all the constitutional rights that a person has. And then the judge reviews it. And the judge will accept the recommended plea. You click on that. We can sign it electronically. We can type in what the amount is. And then at this point, if I do one tonight is the 16th. If I process a case tonight, which I will later, then I will give that person 3 days from the time I sign the order electronically to pay. But if that person cannot pay within those 3 days, then I have a set date for that case to come onto a virtual calendar. So that then it will populate to a calendar and it will come on, and the person says, Judge, I know you gave me 3 days to pay, but this is my circumstance, this is what happened, and I simply can't pay at this time. The court then has the option to give them additional time or to make additional arrangements for them. So again, we are a court of misdemeanor jurisdiction. Again, our primary function is, traffic cases. We do go over to our jury division and serve there and handle some jury cases over there. We also have the opportunity to sit for our superior court by designation when requested. I think I see my colleague, Judge Brian Ross, has joined the meeting as well. Welcome. Feel free to jump in at any time. Again, we made the shift to virtual, and we don't know how long we're going to be in this posture. A couple of months ago, we thought that perhaps we may be in this posture until around the fall. Things seem to be more hopeful at this point. We heard the president say a week or so ago that perhaps it's hopeful that we could get back together perhaps around the 4th of July. And I know that Chief Judge Jackson is now working on setting up some mock juries. So Judge, can you pop in and just give us a quick rundown of that? Because based on what the Chief Judge decides with respect to jury trials will dictate how the rest of the case flow goes in our court.
All right, thank you, Judge Ramsey, and good evening to everybody. As Judge Ramsey said, my name is Asha Jackson. I'm the Chief Judge of the DeKalb Superior Court, which is a general jurisdiction court in DeKalb County. So as I always explain to prospective jurors as I'm running down all the courts for them, I just say, if you can't figure out where to file something, you can always come to Superior Court. That's a good way to think about what we do, because we do it all. We have concurrent jurisdiction with all of the courts for the most part, with all of them actually. And so Judge Ramsey did an excellent job. We are very proud of him. And let me just tell you why what he said is so important. That is because when the pandemic hit unexpectedly, I think everybody just froze all over the state. We knew that we had a constitutional mandate. Remember, we are a co-equal third branch of government, that is the judicial branch. And so the executive decisions that are made by the governor, though they impact us, we have the ability and the authority to make independent decisions, and that is constitutionally mandated. And so we had to quickly pivot to figure out how to keep the courts open, how to allow justice to be accessible to the citizens. And as Chief Judge of the Superior Court, I had to jump into action to pull all of the courts and all of the auxiliary organizations like the District Attorney's Office, the Solicitor General, the Public Defender, the Conflict Defender, the Clerk of Court, the Sheriff's Department, the county. Everyone had to be pulled together. The list, it goes on, so that we can figure out how to administer justice. And Judge Ramsey and the judges in the traffic division of the state court are to be applauded. I'm going to say it again here and give you a round of applause, because I have always said this. The primary reason that most citizens will interface with the court in all likelihood will be because of a traffic ticket, right? And so Judge Ramsey and the judges on that court quickly innovated with the technology provided to find a way to have people dispose of those matters without having to come into court, to do so safely, and to resolve their matters through that online adjudication system that he just described. So he is to be applauded for that. I can't tell you how many people come up to me and say, well, why can't, and I won't call anybody else out, but why don't they have this in so and such county and city? So they really were the innovators in putting that together. And I've heard nothing but good things about it, even though I know nobody likes to get a traffic ticket, but people like the ease with which they can have that matter resolved and have their record clear, because as Judge Ramsey said, and as most people don't understand, traffic is criminal in the state of Georgia. It is. And so I wanted to spend a little time there just to shift the thinking a little bit with respect to the other types of cases that are adjudicated in our court systems all over the country. And I'll speak uniquely about Superior Court, for example. On the criminal side, we tried the worst cases that you can think of. Those are violent felony cases oftentimes. And quite frankly, that's who's sitting in custody right now. It is not the persons who were arrested, for the traffic offenses. It is not most of the misdemeanor cases, because during COVID, the judges had to move and put in place a mechanism and system to consider bond for the nonviolent sort of first-time offender cases, for matters where individuals can receive tickets and a notice to come to court for the safety of the citizens and the officers. A lot of those folks were not arrested, even though obviously the police have the jurisdiction to do so when an offense is committed. So who we have sitting in the jail right now, in the DeKalb County Jail and most of the jails around the country, I would think, are those individuals who are charged with serious violent felonies, who are not bond eligible. Some people are, some people are not. And so we are reaching a crisis level in that you do enjoy in this country a presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And you do have individuals who have been victims of violent crimes, and their family members have been victims. And so there is a pull on the courts, a pull on, I would dare say, myself and my judicial colleagues, that we need to get moving, but we have to keep the citizens safe, and we have to put in place a process that will allow these cases to move forward. So I don't sleep at night. And I apologize for my appearance. I really was here to support Judge Ramsey. Once I saw the topic, I thought, ooh, anything related to justice these days, I think we all jump on it wherever we are, because we want to hear from the citizens, and we want to hear about the ideas that our colleagues have. And so I was here to observe. But I share all of this to say our plan in DeKalb County is to mock try, that is to have a practice run of trials in April, with the hope that with the numbers trending down, and they are right now, I believe they are about 170 per 100,000 people positive. If you look over a 10-day time frame, that is the average, down from some 700 plus in January. So that's a significant decrease, okay? And the threshold that I put in place for our county was about 130 per 100,000. Now that wasn't arbitrary. It was somewhat arbitrary, because I'm a judge, I'm a lawyer, I'm not a health person, even though the topic is very interesting to me. But in taking some guidance from some folks who manage sort of, space capacity and buildings and health issues, and the CDC and the health department, that was a number that we felt comfortable with. It's a little bit higher than you probably heard in the media concerning the school system. They were using the 100 per 100,000 threshold. Once we got below that number, they were going to originally consider the return to in-person teaching. And of course, as you can see, that even that has changed and shifted, because no one thought we would still be here a year later. So we're trending downward. We're going to have mock trials in April. And we have to do that because this is a new normal. If you come to the courthouse now, some people are stunned to just see how it has physically changed. There's plexiglass everywhere. There are hand sanitizing stations. We have a very robust and upgraded air ventilation system, which I would dare say that was at the top of my list of priorities. We just had to have the county make that investment and put that in place to keep all of you and all of our staff safe from COVID. It is an ionization system that grabs the particle and breaks it up so that the spread of the particle of the virus is not transmitted. That became sort of the primary issue for me once I understood that that's how the particles spread. And our county was able to use the Federal CARES Act money to upgrade our systems to make the courthouse buildings safe. But the elevators do not have that filtration system. So we have had to be innovative, and we have to think about how do we move people safely with masks and face coverings, which will still be required in our building. And how do we move people about during the day, because we can't go through the process of jury selection and trials in the manner that we did pre-COVID. So there are a lot of little details that I won't bore you with today, but I will say this: we are looking for volunteers for the mock trial, which is at this time scheduled, the first one for April 21st. And Judge Johnson will be conducting that trial. So if anybody is feeling so compelled and you're just curious and you want to know how the justice system works, we would love to have you participate and help us work out the details so that when we go back to some semblance of normal in May, with moving citizens in and out of the building and to the different courtrooms, that we have a good idea and we have a good model for doing so. It's one thing to talk about it, which we have been doing. We've been planning and talking and meeting. And we have been conducting everything that we can virtually. I think we are all zoomed out. That's what everybody keeps saying. It is so true. I now have my blue blocker reading glasses on. There's a blue hue, but it helps because, this process has really made my eyes bad over the last year. But now we have to do some things in person. And that would be our substantive hearings where there are witnesses in criminal trials. There's a right of confrontation in criminal trials, and the criminal defense bar around the state wants to be able to come in person and look the accuser in the face, look at the witnesses. They have that right constitutionally. That is the one thing we have not been able to do virtually because they're not going to waive that right. So we got to get back to it. And then most importantly, we need to have jury trials. And that's where you, the citizens, are our best resource and PR spokespeople for this process. Because without you, you suddenly become the most important people in the room. We can't have trials and justice cannot be administered. So I probably said more than Judge Ramsey wanted me to say, but it really was a recruitment plug for those of you who have the time on your hands and you want to come be mock jurors and participate in the process. We would love to have you. And thank you so much for your support. Because I have to say that around the state, when this all happened, everybody had something to say, but in DeKalb County, people have been so supportive about how we have gone about getting this work done. And today, Justice Melton was able to share with the legislative branch, the third branch, just how much the judges are doing during the pandemic. People thought the courthouse was closed. Yeah. All we did was limit in-person hearings, but I would dare say, just like in your job, we are working more because see, now you don't have to wait for a lawyer who's reporting in 3 counties, 10 to 20 miles apart. They can jump right on from one hearing to the next. And we are working overtime. And I couldn't be more proud of the folks that I get to work with to resolve these issues. So thank you, Judge Ramsey, for letting me say more than you probably thought. But I see we're getting some volunteers in that chat. I hope.
Awesome.
Teresa, are you writing that down?
Yeah. So Judge, I like to do things in order. So what I want to do is make sure I get the right information and then we will share.
We can get a sign up genius.
Yes. We're going to have to get a sign up to make sure that people are.
Now don't y'all hide. I see these names in the chat. So don't hide when Teresa sends out that we need you. You're going to see some public service announcements from Chief Justice Melton about jurors. It says stuff like, jurors, citizens, we need you. We do need you. We actually do need you.
Okay, so we'll look for those. Is it going to be some instructions of how to sign?
I will get with Judge Johnson about that immediately.
Okay, Judge. Okay. As soon as you get that to us, we'll get that to the people so that we can have some a good representation throughout the DeKalb.
Yes, thank you so much for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Chief. And so, ladies and gentlemen, to go back to some shifting that we had to do with COVID, of course, we have jurisdiction, for incarceration up to 12 months and $1,000 fine and for $5,000 for high and aggravated misdemeanors. But we made the conscious decision that we would do all that we could do not to contribute to someone's ill health by opting not to incarcerate anyone if at all costs during this COVID period. So we have some cases that folk need to serve some time, but we've said, okay, well, let's revisit it in May, let's revisit it in June, and we'll see how things are, because it's pointless to send someone into a jail that have had cases, get them infected, they spend 72 hours or less, go back to their families, and the whole family's sick and someone may die. It's just not worth that. That is not in the interest of justice, and we're just not doing that at this point. And so you heard Judge Jackson say, traffic cases are criminal, but one of the things that we had to do as a part of our initial court reform was to make people feel that you are not criminals. You are just any regular citizen who an officer says, broke the law in his or her eyes, and you are presumed innocent until you are otherwise proven guilty by a judge with a bench trial or by a jury of your peers. And you are entitled to a jury trial on all of those cases. So we had to do a mindset shift, even with the security that guards the courts. I walk in one day and I hear, listen up, listen up. And I had to pull the officer to the side. We do not address our citizens that way. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Because as Judge Jackson said, our court is probably the only experience most citizens will ever have with the judicial system, period. And that experience will be a lasting experience for them, good or bad. And I even had a former president sitting in my courtroom to observe with a relative, and she told me, Ron, I was just petrified. I'm like, why are you petrified? Because I'm in court. And some people are literally that nervous to be in a court of law. So you have to make them as comfortable as you can, explain their rights to them, explain their right to have a counsel. What you are viewing right now is my everyday scenario. The only difference is I have on a black robe instead of a suit jacket. And so the screen is full. Sometimes we can have 20 people at a time. Sometimes we can have 50 people at a time. But mind you, we invite about 200 per session, because right now we are in a voluntary posture. And we thank everyone every day for coming to their voluntary virtual appearance. Because right now we're not issuing any failure to appears, because that would be a miscarriage of justice. People have lost jobs, they've lost homes, they've lost themselves in many respects. So why are you going to pile on additional criminal misconduct upon them under these circumstances? So guess what? If I call you in the morning, you don't show up, we just put you on another calendar and we keep calling you. All right. Another issue we've encountered is our ticketing system with the police department is antiquated. We've known that for several years. And right now, the officers only capture data such as your address. Well, many addresses, even prior to COVID, we were getting about $15,000 in return mail annually anyway, with just bad addresses. So that's exacerbated by COVID. And so we aren't able to, all the cases are automatic. The officer uploads them, they go to what's called a benchmark system, and they get populated onto calendars. Well, you can't send out letters to people who don't live there anymore. And so we've actually had to meet with the police chief, and our chief judge, and we've had to write a script for them to read to defendants when they're about to issue a citation, and saying that the court is requesting this additional information from you, such as your email address and your cell number, so that the court may contact you. Then we've developed virtual letters that then we will send to them electronically, advising them of their case and advising them of their invitation to come to a virtual court. So you can see the percentages. We invite about 200 per day just to get 20 to 50 in per session. And that is still well above what other courts are able to do. And it's well above what we could do if we were in person, because right now under the CDC guidelines, we can have 12 people in my courtroom. Well, 6 are staff. By the time you get the deputy, the calendar clerk, the prosecutor, the public defender, and a court reporter or an interpreter, that's 6 people. So then you're talking about all the PPE and security expense of doing 6 people when we can do 20 to 50, right here in an hour or two. So right now we're going to remain in this posture likely until around July, and we'll see what the dynamics of the virus look like then. And if so, then we can just easily shift, resend those electronic notices out and say, instead of appearing virtually, then you will appear in person. But many have said from the CEO on down, things will never snap back to the way they were. This will be a tool that we will continue to utilize. In fact, even before COVID, I visited the Lou Walker Senior Center, and I announced to the seniors over there that if someone had a case, and I've seen how difficult it is for our seniors to drive down there, pay to park, walk across a street, that has traffic, go down some stairs, stand in line, and my courtroom's on the first floor. They don't have to go upstairs, but some of the cases are upstairs. So I told them that I would make the arrangements with the director so that they could then have a virtual hearing before this court, for an initial hearing. Now, of course, if they choose to have a trial or something of that nature, then of course, other arrangements will have to be made. But as a service to our citizens, that was on the table, that remains on the table. And so I have my colleague, Judge Ross, here. I certainly want to give him the opportunity to speak.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Judge Brian Ross. I just wanted to join in on this event this evening as a member of the DeKalb NAACP. It's always good to be present and in attendance, certainly when my schedule allows. Had a very busy day here today, 2 court calendars, morning and afternoon, pretty heavy. I did them virtually due to this, the magic of Zoom. I'm not in a courtroom, but I do have a state seal and 2 flags behind me, much like Judge Ramsey, but we're able to get our work done from wherever we might be. And that's been really, to find the silver lining. That's actually been one of the benefits of this otherwise terrible pandemic, is that we've learned how to do things differently. And so certainly when we are in a position of being able to resume in-person operations, I do expect that at least some portion of what we do will be to continue virtually. As Judge Ramsey indicated, there may be those individuals who, for whatever reason, due to age, due to disability, due to their distance from the courthouse, they may be college students or whatever the case may be, we may need to accommodate them with this virtual arrangement and not compel them to appear in person. And so that's one thing that we have learned, and I do expect through consultation with Judge Ramsey and the other judges that we may be able to continue some of our operations virtually. But just happy to be here this evening, learning a lot. Great to hear from Chief Judge Jackson as always. I always want to stay informed as to what's going on in our court system. I like the fact that people are already eager to volunteer to be jurors. I thought I would do it myself, but then they probably try to strike me from the jury. So I don't know, but it's good to be here and good to see President Hardy as always. And thank you so much for having me.
And also one of our other colleagues, Judge Hargrove, do you care to have some words?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I don't have any specific words with respect to Judge Ramsey's court and how they're operating, but of course the probate court has to kind of sort of fall in line with what DeKalb County is doing. And so as Judge Ramsey mentioned, the probate court has been in a little bit of a unique and different situation since the pandemic, because we have in fact had to report to the courthouse, and we're doing everything that we possibly can and have done everything that we possibly can. And I should basically say I have done it because I am the judge of that court, and I am the one who pretty much stays awake all night long, making sure that I have everything in order for the following days. I recently had to think about it, that I've literally spent an entire year kind of sort of worrying every night about whether or not someone on my staff or myself or someone in the public is going to come to the probate court for services, and then there end up being a COVID-19 incident, as you will, because I've had several of my colleagues, other probate court judges in the state, who have had to actually shut down their courts, their licensing divisions, because they've had a COVID outbreak. And so it's been a very, very interesting time for probate courts, I think, during this pandemic. I think we've done a good job over here in DeKalb County, and I can certainly thank Chief Judge Asha Jackson for her concern about making sure that we all stay safe. And I shared that concern very early on in the pandemic. And I'm actually very proud to say that my court has not had to shut down once concerning any COVID outbreak or for any reason. But I will say that I would like to echo what Judge Brian Ross mentioned, because from my standpoint, handling our hearings, our emergency guardianship hearings, our mental health hearings, and our estate hearings virtually has worked very well for the court. Had I known a year ago, and I'm sure Judge Jackson understands where I'm going with this, had I known a year ago that I would have essentially had full reign with the courthouse, because it's pretty much a ghost town at the courthouse, except for, you know, a few agencies that come down there, perhaps I would have done some things in a different manner. But for the first probably 6 months of the pandemic, there was always this thought that things were going to change within the next couple of months. Things were going to change. So I've basically been trying to run the probate court in a manner that I can accommodate the needs of the citizens of DeKalb County with the essential services that we provide and some of the non-essential services, without it kind of sort of interfering with the other operations of the court. And when I say the other operations, I mean, when Judge Jackson and the Superior Court judges start back having jury trials, we're going to have to start thinking about numbers. How many people are coming into the courthouse? Because we want to keep everyone safe. And I don't want to get in trouble because Judge Jackson's on the phone and I don't want her to call me after this Zoom meeting. But I mean, we are averaging, the probate court at this time is averaging close to 150 to 175 in-person customers a day.
Wow. And
that's very, very scary in many regards. But I've put up precautions, and we're always conscientious about, as Judge Jackson said, we've got our plexiglass, we've got our hand sanitizers. I'm doing by appointment only. Many of the citizens do not like my by appointment only platform. I'm sure that if President Hardy or anyone else asks me to speak anytime soon, you know, I'm going to basically be the target because of the whole weapon carry license matter.
Right.
Folks believe, I've realized this, you know, in tough times, you see the best in people and you see the worst in people. And one of the worst things that I've seen in the last year is the fact that there are some people that walk around and believe that their chance to get a weapon carry license is more important than my life and the lives of my staff. Mm-hmm. And so that's pretty much all that I will say. I appreciate very much Judge Ramsey making this presentation. I appreciate the other branches of courts that work within DeKalb, and I appreciate their support of the probate court. And when we do transition to jury trials coming in, I'll be working closely with Judge Jackson and the other judges to make sure that we all kind of sort of work together, because if my court is at this time seeing close to 150 to 175 people a day coming into the court, once we quote unquote lift things from the COVID, then 200 or 300 people are going to want to come in to get those services. And I just don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. And thank you, Judge Ramsey and Judge Jackson and President Hardy.
My pleasure. And certainly, you know, with about 700 people coming into our courtroom, into our courthouse per day, it's just impossible at this time. That's why we're going to remain virtual and do the best we can. I also serve on the executive committee for the Council of State Court Judges, which means that we have to keep up with all the legislation regarding the judiciary. And we meet sometimes twice weekly. Crossover day was March 9th, and some of the bills that have crossed over that may be of interest is House Bill 620, which deals with settlements with minors. It talks about how you know, protect children and protect the money. House Bill 662 increases time allotted for trials of misdemeanor and felonies, of course, with individuals have a right to a speedy trial, and there's legislation and Superior Court rules that have to be adjusted to accommodate the fact that we just can't do that right now. Also, House Bill 737, any chief judge may request additional assistance due to COVID. Senate Bill 281 increases the sheriff's retirement fee on criminal and civil cases. Right now, I believe that the surcharges are about 40%, which means that, say, for example, if you have a $100 fine, by the time the judge gives you your order, it is the $100 times the $40 state mandated surcharges in addition to a $25 court cost fee. And that's all legislative. So I don't know how much this proposed sheriff increase fee is, but I can certainly get that information to you if anyone's interested, because that's going to change everybody's fee codes if that passes. Then House Bill 714 is the Civil Practice Act, settlement offers in personal injury claims. And then finally, House Bill 635 for remote orders and locations. So say for example, we've all learned and we've been sanctioned by the Supreme Court to make these shifts during the pandemic to hold court at home. So I write orders at home. I can write orders in my car if I'm traveling. I have my hotspot. But if I go see my mother in Charlotte, then I'm outside the state of Georgia, and I can't literally write that order. So this legislation would allow a judge from Superior Court judge on down to magistrate courts to do any lawful thing that judge is entitled to do if that judge were sitting in his or her courtroom, irrespective of where the judge may be. Because say, for example, if we have to go, they hold the state bar meeting every other year in Florida of all places, because apparently there's no place in Georgia that can accommodate all the lawyers. And so if you wanted to do some work in Florida at the bar meeting from your hotel room, you couldn't do it. So this bill, as of this morning, though, it was stuck in a committee, and I'm not certain that is going to get out. So we'll have to watch that one very, very closely, because it would certainly free judges up to be able to do a lot more with a lot more flexibility. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be quiet. I'll be happy to take any questions. I'm sure my colleagues will be happy to assist in answering any questions that we can. And thank you.
So I think the question may have been answered. I think, let me go back just to make sure. I think the first question was, what is traffic court doing to eliminate jail or prison time during COVID time for traffic violations? I think we discussed that. You did a good job of doing that, even though you didn't see it. And then we got the signups for volunteers. We will get that information to it will go out to our membership, and then it can be shared with other people on the actual instructions on how to sign up to be a part of that mock juror. So once we get that information from Judge Johnson, then we will move forward with that, okay? And then, is anyone looking into changing the way juries are picked? Is that any?
Well, I'd be curious to understand from whoever asked that question how you think juries are picked.
Yeah, somebody must have saw my post.
Maybe someone has
Carrie.
Before.
Yes, ma'am.
Carrie.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm new, and it's just a privilege to be in a room with so many educated and knowledgeable people. But I'm researching a piece on Bacon's Rebellion, and me and my colleagues were always debating. I'm a Morehouse grad, so we got a whole bunch of us. We sit in one room and we talk about solutions to so many of these problems. And time again, it seems like every time we see these trials and we see these verdicts that cause so much controversy, I always say, let's look at the jury. And it's just amazing to me. We've talked about this so much about, judges and attorneys, Black attorneys and judges. Why aren't, they're fighting tooth and nail about making the jury whatever color let's say the defendant is, prosecution, like, in other words, I'm following the George Floyd case and I'm looking at how they're picking the jury. So. And it would seem like if you have two white people on trial, because judged by our peers, even though that's written, I don't think that's really happening yet. And I mean, one day, hopefully in America, we can get to that point. But what I'm saying is, if you have two white people on trial and the whole jury is white, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. Or if you have two black people on trial and the jury was all black, I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. But if you have one black person and one white person on trial and the jury is half and half, and I understand you have to look in the jurisdiction, you have a certain pool you can pick from, I get all of that. But rules are made by men and rules can be changed. But what happens if you do have a jury based upon those lines? Like, I think it would totally take out any kind of problems that we have with these verdicts coming out, because now you have half the jury that sees this person, as their brother, as a human versus an animal. So that's what I meant by that.
Well, Kari, I want to thank you first of all for having the questions, right? That's what this is about during this process, is to ask the tough questions and to be innovative and to do the work. It's a much longer conversation, what you're talking about, but here's how I intend to shorten it for you, because I think a lot of people have that question. And if you sit through jury selection, have you ever sat through jury selection, by the way?
No, ma'am, but I am going to volunteer.
Yeah, good.
And you should. And you won't have a real perspective about what you're talking about, and that is the dynamics of race and class and those sort of things. Because your question really goes more so to those issues. But I want to give you a little bit of food for thought, and I want to also invite you and any of you to come and observe jury trials. The courtroom doesn't belong to Judge Jackson or Judge Ramsey or Judge Ross or Judge Hargrove. It does not. It belongs to you, the citizens of DeKalb County. You may come and observe whatever you like to come and observe. And I invite people to do it all the time. So that's the short version. Here's a shorter answer to your question. And that is, you can't make assumptions about people. Because when the jury selection process begins, you would be floored to hear some of the responses and who they come from. You will find oftentimes with a African-American defendant that there may be a very sympathetic person from the north side of DeKalb that does not look like them, who has worked on Black Lives Matter issues. And you may find a person that you assume from the south side of DeKalb to be perhaps one of the most conservative people in terms of their thought processes about crime and guns and violence. So I have learned in this job, because to me, jury selection is the most interesting part of the trial, because it's about the people. It is so interesting, Kari. And I want you to come watch. And then we have this conversation again and see if you've changed your mind at all. Because I think you're going to be stunned.
Please invite me. I'm there.
Awesome.
All right. Judge Hargrove, I did have a follow-up question. You said that you had over 175 people per day, somewhere in that number. How many at a time are you allowing in your court?
Well, we are by appointment only.
Okay.
But of course, you're always going to have those folks who just show up. People don't like anything that's new. But for our weapons carry and marriage license division, which is on in the basement level, those appointments are scheduled in 30-minute intervals. So basically my goal has been to limit the number of people that are actually in my intake area. So you're looking at about maybe six, top 7 people that are actually in the intake area at a time. We process them, get them out the door, and then allow the next group of folks to come in. That's the highest traffic area. We definitely have over 50 people per day coming in for weapon carry licenses, and close to 50 plus per day coming in for marriage licenses and or weapon carry renewals. And then upstairs on the first floor, which is where the rest of my court is located, my wills and estates and mental health divisions, we have probably close to another 50 plus people per day coming in. And that is also by appointment only. And we're basically trying to just stagger the appointments in 30 to 1 hour intervals so that we can avoid having a lot of traffic at one time. Okay. So hopefully that'll answer your question. And I don't want to be set on that number because I think that it's an approximate. Sometimes it may be a little more, sometimes it may be a little less, but I can assure you that if I just open the doors tomorrow to the probate court, 400 or 500 people would want to come down tomorrow and get their weapon carry license application processed. And the other thing that's important for folks to realize is we do not do fingerprinting in-house at the probate court of DeKalb County, which means that in order for someone to get their application fully processed, they have to actually get fingerprinting. So we actually have our weapon carry applicants come to the court to complete their application, and then they have to rush over to the police department, DeKalb Police Department, for the fingerprinting. And quite naturally, when you think about a COVID-19 pandemic, you can't get much more up close and personal than doing fingerprinting. And so the police department has to handle that aspect of it. So I also have to consider the volume that they're able to handle at a time. So that's why we pretty much did everything and trying to do it in 30-minute intervals, and definitely trying to keep a large number of people out of our court as much as we possibly can. It's really to save the lives of the citizens, as well as to save and protect the lives of my staff and everybody else that's involved. It's really simple. You know, lives matter more than weapon carry license permits.
Yeah,
that's what I think. That's just my opinion.
I appreciate that. That's what we've been stating. I think all of us have been on the same page as it relates to safety first. I think that's been the goal of why DeKalb County has been so successful during the pandemic. We've put safety first. I mean, and safety meant for all people, not just for, you know, certain people. So I really appreciate. I was actually proud to be able to be on other panels and discuss that DeKalb County judicial system was running very, very well. So it's always good to be able to brag on what we got going on in DeKalb County at all levels. I mean, it wasn't that I had to, you know, it was state, superior, magistrate, all of the courts were doing the same thing and getting great feedback from the community, as well as external to like Metro and stuff. So they was like, Teresa, y'all don't got these issues? I was like, hey, we DeKalb. We lead with excellence, right? And so right now, people really are trying to, you know, mimic what DeKalb County is doing. And I'm just proud to be a part of that, because otherwise I had to be on the other side saying, wait a minute, let me protest against my people. Right? But we all, I think it's been wonderful to be able to work together. And Judge Ramsey, you did an awesome job of letting us know what we do in the state court. And I think people forget that where we come from. And thanks for that historical sketch. I do remember when we were in the recording court and the lines would be all out the door, right, for days, right? And you'd be like, what is going on? And now we've just grown, and now we're virtual. So, and we're being just as productive, but also I think we're teaching our people about, like you said, traffic court. Having a traffic citation is criminal. However, you're not criminals for life, right? So I think you guys are doing a great job. And Brian, Judge Ross, same thing. And I'm just happy to have all of you on. So then this makes it easier to pick the next one to do it. We've decided to do this in our criminal justice meeting so that it actually ties into what we're doing Our goals in the criminal justice is to look for alternatives for incarceration. We want to make sure that we're educating, equipping, and empowering our people as it relates to that. We want to be able to support and volunteer and watch cases and provide the feedback back to our judicial system. So that's what we do in our criminal justice committee, and people who are not a member of the committee can actually join. Please let Bert know. He keeps up with our roster of people. We actually have every month decided to kind of invite someone from our criminal justice preview so that we can actually talk about, discuss, and see how things are going. Yes, we're in COVID, but we also have that the thought of what's going on with the safety and the protection of our people on both sides, or on all sides, right? So I'm grateful to have all of you here. Bert, we do have some announcements. So Judge Ramsey, do you have anything else before we go to announcements and then let folks know who we have for our next meeting? Mm-hmm.
Madam President, I would just like to say to everyone, I did place my email address into the chat. You all feel free to contact me anytime if you have any questions. And if you would like to participate in our virtual court, just simply send me the email. I'll forward it on to our court moderator, and she will link you on. You can have your name, or you can just, you can type in observer if you wish, and then that way you can just observe our proceedings. So our court, and of course, when we open back up in person, feel free to come down and visit with us at any time. These are not our courtrooms, they're your courtrooms. They belong to the citizens of DeKalb County, and we serve you, and we do it to the best of our ability. Thank you. It was my honor and pleasure to speak with you this evening.
Okay, awesome.
Bert has his hand up.
Who?
Yes, sir.
Bert.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bert.
Teresa, okay.
Yeah,
I just, one thing, I didn't start recording at the beginning of the presentation because we hadn't had a chance to talk about recording and whether we might share this. But if it's okay with everybody, we'll edit it a little bit and put it up on the website, NAACP DeKalb website, if that's all right.
I don't believe we've said anything that's incriminating.
I don't think so. I didn't hear any bad words or anything that sounded illegal. Okay, good, thank you. And so that was the first thing, and then the other one is just we have District Attorney Sherry Boston planned for the next meeting, which is the 21st. Make sure I got that right on my calendar. That we're on the third Tuesday. No, it's the 20th. I put it on wrong. Okay, so I'll change it. It's the 20th. And we also have a film showing that the committee is sponsoring, and that's going to be this Thursday, the 18th, and everybody's welcome to sign up for that. You can go to, let's see, actually, I'm sorry, I don't have, but send me an email if you want to sign up for that film.
And Bert, I will send it out to the NAACP membership so that we know as well. Well, I thought we was going to do a flyer, but I don't think it got done. So we'll still get the information out so that people can watch this film. And I think it's important that our community and others actually start to watch the Healing Justice, because if we're going to change the trajectory of the actual community, we have to start healing somewhere, right? And the film is literally about healing when you come, like on the victim side, as well as the person who went through it. So I think it's a good time to have a community talk as it relates to healing justice. And as Judge Ramsey mentioned, we also have to change some laws to get us there as well. But we all have to work together in all the branches. And I think that's what Judge Asha Jackson was bringing up as well. So understanding our system, not just on one side, we're really trying to get everyone to understand the different branches and also the different elements of criminal justice, right? All the way, we had the public defender last month, or whatever month it was. We've had our sheriff, we've had our chief. here on the police side. So we're really going through the whole dynamic as it relates to the criminal justice system. So like a lot of people I heard on here said that they were learning a lot. And that's the key, is to educate the people first before they get in your courts, Judge Ramsey, so they'll know, look, don't be locking me up. Don't give me a heart attack. Don't let my blood pressure get high, because I don't really want to be here. But we want to just continue to educate so that we understand the ramifications of breaking the law or what laws need to change, like Carrie was talking about. If it's something need to change in jury, let's first understand what we have and assess it, and then come up with some ideas. Is there anything else, Bert and Mr. Speakman, Pastor Speakman? Go ahead, Bert.
Let me add, I just put in the chat, it's real simple, rjag.org. And if you scroll down, you'll find the details on how to sign up for the film. You have to register, but it's free.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Pastor Speakman.
Yes, again, we want to say thank you to all of our court justices, as well as Madam President and everyone else that has joined us here on tonight. I'm hoping that everyone has learned something and learned well. And keep in mind, our whole duty is to try to make sure that we affect our community positively. So we appreciate everything that everyone is doing in your respective places. I always say it's great if you're in your lane and you're doing what you're supposed to do in your lane. It makes the community much better. And so again, we thank you. Thank Mr. Bert Skelly for making sure we come together well, and for all that are involved. Will there be anything else to claim our attention tonight? All right, we did talk about future things going forward. And Madam President, any other announcement that you may have before we end tonight?
There was one I sent to Bert. Let me see. It's about the evictions and what our judges are doing on that. It's going to be
March the 25th.
Yeah, March the 25th. And we'll send that link out for people to sign up. It's March the 25th, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., where they're going to provide eviction dates in the metro area. So we want to make sure.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Will there be any other statement from any of our court justices at this time before we end?
Well, not to belabor the point that President Hardy made, but I do want to just encourage everyone here to get involved, like I said earlier, and to come and watch. If you start hearing things in the community that, you know, any one of the judges have done, you don't like a ruling, you've got questions about it, you know, pause for a second before you join in the community chatter about it and seek to understand the case, the law, and the decisions. Because one thing that we all did here at every level of court is that we all had to stand to be sworn in and to take a loyalty oath and to take an oath to become a judge, to administer justice fair without respect to persons. And so I think all of us here take that oath very seriously. It does mean that sometimes we have to make tough decisions that not everybody is going to like. It's the nature of the beast. That's why there's a V between the names, because it's one side versus the other. And quite frankly, somebody is going to probably not have their way. But I would just hope that something we said here tonight sparked a level of curiosity in every person here, such that you would make a personal pledge to become more informed about what we do and why we do it, and then educate someone else about that. So that's the only thing I wanted to say.
Awesome. Well spoken. Well spoken. There was someone else that had something. Oh, I thought I saw a hand raised. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and for your attention, for being a part of this great time here. We're going to go ahead and again close with a word of prayer, and then we'll hopefully see everyone on the next time. Father in heaven, we're grateful as always for all that you do for us and all that we can do for this community. Help us always to make a difference in our respective places. And as we come together, we can challenge each other to change. Help us to change this community in a positive way. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you.